The process of formation of a mature gamete, female gamete, is called oogenesis, which is markedly different from spermatogenesis. Oogenesis is initiated during the embryonic development stage when a couple of million gamete mother cell oogonia are formed within each fetal ovary. No more oogonia are formed and added after birth. These cells start division and enter into phase 1 of a meiotic division and get temporarily arrested at that stage, called primary oocyte. Each primary oocyte then gets surrounded by a layer of granulosa cells and is called a primary follicle. A large number of these follicles degenerate during the phase from birth to puberty. Therefore, at puberty, only 60,000 to 80,000 primary follicles are left in each ovary. Remember, when is ओम गेट स्टार्टिंग टू फॉर्मिंग, याद रखिएगा कि कब हम फीमेल्स में उगोनिया फॉर्म होता है एट बर्थ के, मतलब जब वो एक मदर के उम्ब में रहती है ना, तभी से उनमें ओम बनना स्टार्ट हो जाते हैं और एट प्यूबर्टी तक वो प्रोफेस वन में अरेस्ट रहते हैं और एट प्यूबर्टी तक ओनली 60,000 टू 80,000 प्राइमरी फॉलिकल्स रिमेन रहते हैं. ये क्वेश्चन एग्जाम्स में पूछे जा सकते हैं. सो please remember it. The primary follicles get surrounded by more layers of granulosa cell and nuclei and are called secondary follicles. The secondary follicle soon transforms into a tertiary follicle, which is characterized by a fluid-filled cavity called antrum. The theca is organized into an inner theca interna and outer theca externa. It is important to draw your attention that is at this stage that the primary oocyte between the tertiary follicle grows in size and completes its first meiotic division. It is an unequal division resulting in the formation of a large haploid secondary oocyte and a tiny first polar body. The secondary oocyte retains bulk of the nutrients-rich cytoplasm of the primary oocyte. Can you think of any advantage for this? Does the first polar body born out of the first meiotic division divide further or degenerate? At present, we are not very certain about this. The tertiary follicle further changes into the mature follicle or Graafian follicle. The secondary oocyte forms a new membrane called zona pellucida surrounding it. The Graafian follicles now rupture to release the secondary follicles, that is ovum. याद रखिएगा, जो हम ग्राफियन फॉलिकल से oocyte रिलीज ओम रिलीज होता है वो सेकेंडरी oocyte होते हैं. ओके, फ्रॉम द ओवरी बाय the process called ovulation. The release of secondary oocyte from the ovary is called ovulation. Can you identify major differences between spermatogenesis and oogenesis? Spermatogenesis में fully formed mature sperm रिलीज होते हैं, बट oogenesis में सेकेंडरी oocyte रिलीज होती है. ओके, a diagrammatic schematic representation of spermatogenesis और oogenesis is given below. ये डायग्राम देखिए, ब्लड वेसल्स, प्राइमरी follicles, tertiary follicles which are showing antrum. It is a key point. Okay, tertiary follicles का ग्राफियन follicles और corpus luteum. डायग्राम याद होना चाहिए क्योंकि एग्जाम में डायग्राम बेस्ड क्वेश्चन भी आते हैं. देखिए ये भी डायग्राम देखिए, प्यूबर्टी में इनमें स्पर्मेटोगोनिया माइटोसिस डिप्रेसिएशन करती है, प्राइमरी स्पर्मेटोसाइट बनाती है, फिर फर्स्ट मेयोटिक डिवीजन करती है, सेकेंडरी स्पर्मेटोसाइट बनते, फिर सेकेंड मेयोटिक डिवीजन होता है तो स्पर्मेटिड्स बनते, और फिर इसमें डिफ्रेंसिएशन होता है तो स्पर्मेटोजोआ बनता है. याद रखिएगा, इनमें क्रोमोसोम नंबर कितने होते हैं, कब क्या बनते हैं, कब किसका डिवीजन होता है, याद होना चाहिए. ओगोने देखिए, फीमेल में ओम बनने की प्रोसेस को देखो. ओम ये फीटल पेस लाइफ में देखिए, ओगोनिया माइटोटिक डिवीजन करती है, प्राइमरी oocyte जो मेयोटिक प्रोफेस 1 में अरेस्ट होती है. तो देखिए, प्राइमरी oocyte फर्स्ट मेयोटिक डिवीजन कंप्लीट करेगी कब, आफ्टर बर्थ, एट प्यूबर्टी. ओके, फिर सेकेंडरी oocyte बनेगी. सेकेंडरी oocyte में फर्स्ट पोलर बॉडी बनती है और एक सेकेंडरी oocyte, और सेकेंडरी oocyte से भी ओवम बनेगा और सेकेंड पोलर बॉडी. ये एडल्ट रिप्रोडक्टिव लाइफ है. ओके, the reproductive cycle in the female primates. एग्जाम्पल, प्राइमेट्स कौन है तो देखिए, मंकीज, एप्स एंड ह्यूमन बींग्स. इस कॉल मेंस्ट्रुअल साइकिल. प्राइमेट में मेंस्ट्रुअल साइकिल होते हैं और बाकी में स्ट्रेस साइकिल. ओके, द फर्स्ट मेंस्ट्रुएशन बिगिंस एट प्यूबर्टी एंड इज कॉल्ड मेनार्क. In human females, menstruation is repeated at an average interval of about 28 to 29 days. And the cycle of events starting from one menstruation till the next one is called menstrual cycle. One ovum is released with ovulation. During the middle of its menstrual cycle, the major events of menstrual cycle are shown in figure 3.9. देखिए, 3 फेज होते हैं, मेंस्ट्रुअल फेज, मेंस्ट्रुएशन फेज, फॉलिकल फेज, विच आर ऑल्सो कॉल्ड प्रोलिफरेशन फेज. फॉलिकुलर फेज होता है ओवरी में और प्रोलिफरेशन फेज होता है यूट्रस में. ल्यूटियर फेज, सेक्रेटरी फेज एंड नेक्स्ट साइकिल स्टार्ट. देखिए, मेंस्ट्रुएशन में फॉलिकल डेवलप होते हैं ओवरी में और एफएसएस एलएलएस का लेवल मीडियम होता है. फॉलिकुलर फेज में प्रोजेस्टेरॉन कम होता है बट एस्ट्रोजन का लेवल हाई होता है, बिकॉज जब ये ओवरी में फॉलिकुलर डेवलप होते हैं तो ये एस्ट्रोजन रिलीज करते हैं. दैट्स वाई एस्ट्रोजन का लेवल हाई रहता है. एट ओव्यूलेशन टाइम एलएस, एफएसएस एंड एस्ट्रोजन का लेवल हाई रहता है, बट याद रखना कि प्रोजेस्टेरॉन का लेवल हाई नहीं रहता है. एग्जाम में पूछ भी सकता है कि ओव्यूलेशन के टाइम कौन कौन से हार्मोन्स के लेवल हाई रहते हैं. ओके, अब नाउ ल्यूटियर फेज में देखिए, डेवलपिंग कॉर्पस ल्यूटियम में प्रोजेस्टेरॉन का लेवल हाई रहता है, बट देखिए एट सर्टेन टाइम वेयर एस्ट्रोजन लेवल इज लो एंड एलएसएस एफएसएस लेवल ऑल्सो लो. देखिए, ये डायग्राम भी आपको अच्छे से आनी चाहिए. The cycle starts with the menstrual phase when menstrual flow occurs and it lasts for 3 to 5 days. The menstrual flow results due to breakdown of endometrial lining of the uterus and its blood vessel, which forms liquid that comes out through vagina. याद रखना, menstrual flow किस लाइनिंग में होता है? एंड्रोमेट्रियल लाइनिंग में. ओके. Menstruation only occurs if the released ovum is not fertilized. Lack of menstruation may be indicative of pregnancy. However, it may also be caused due to some other underlying causes like stresses, poor health, etc. The menstrual phase is followed by the follicular phase. During this phase, the primary follicles in the ovary grow to become a fully mature Graafian follicle, and simultaneously the endometrium of uterus regenerates through proliferation. These changes in the ovary and the uterus are induced by changes in the level of pituitary and ovarian hormones. The secretion of gonadotropins like LH and FHS increases gradually during the follicular phase and stimulates follicular development as well as secretion of estrogens by the growing follicles. Both LH and FSH attains a peak level in the middle of cycle, that is about 14th day. Rapid secretion of LH leading to its maximum level during the mid-cycle, called LH surge, induces rupture of Graafian follicle and thereby the release of ovum, that is called ovulation. The ovulation, which is also called ovulatory phase, is followed by the luteal phase, during which the remaining parts of Graafian follicle transform as the corpus luteum. The corpus luteum secretes large amounts of progesterone, which is essential for maintenance of the endometrium. Such an endometrium is necessary for implantation of the fertilized ovum and other events of pregnancy. During pregnancy, all events of the menstrual cycle stop and there is no menstruation. In the absence of fertilization, the corpus luteum degenerates. This causes disintegration of endometrium leading to menstruation, marking a new cycle. In human beings, menstrual cycle ceases around 50 years of the age, that is termed as menopause. मतलब जब हमारा मेंस्ट्रुअल साइकिल सीज हो जाता है, वो एज होता है 50 ईयर्स, और उस फेज को बोलते हैं मेनोपॉज. साइक्लिंग मेंस्ट्रुएशन इज एन इंडिकेटर ऑफ नॉर्मल reproductive phase and extends between menarche and menopause. Menstrual hygiene. Maintenance of hygiene and sanitation during menstruation is very important. Take bath and clean yourself regularly. Use sanitary napkins or clean homemade pads. Change sanitary napkins or homemade pads after every 4 to 5 hours as per the requirement. Dispose of the use of sanitary napkins properly, wrapping it with a used paper. Do not throw the used napkin in the drain pipe or toilet or in the open area. After handling the napkins, wash hands with soap. Fertilization and implantation during copulation, which is also called coitus, semen is released by the penis into the vagina, which is called insemination. The motile sperm swim rapidly, pass through the cervix, enter into the uterus, and finally reach the ampullary region of the fallopian tube. The ovum released by the ovary is also transported to the ampullary region where fertilization takes place. Fertilization can only occur if the ovum and sperms are transported simultaneously to the ampullary region. This is the reason why not all copulation leads to fertilization and pregnancy. The process of the fusion of a sperm with an ovum is called fertilization. During fertilization, our sperms come in contact with the zona pellucida layer of the ovum and induces changes in the membrane that blocks the entry of additional sperm. Thus, it ensures that only one sperm can fertilize an ovum. The secretions of the acrosome help the sperm enter into the cytoplasm of the ovum through the zona pellucida and the plasma membrane. This induces the completion of the meiotic division of the secondary oocyte. The meiotic division is also unequal and results in the formation of a second polar body and a haploid ovum, which is also called oocyte. Soon the haploid nucleus of sperms and that of ovum fuse together to form a diploid zygote. How many chromosomes will be there in zygote? 23 from sperm and 23 from ovum. Total chromosome number is 46. One has to remember that the sex of the baby has been decided at this stage itself. Let us see how. As you know, the chromosome pattern in the human female is XX and that in female is that in male is XY. Therefore, all the haploid gametes produced by female have the sex chromosome X, whereas in male gametes is from the sex chromosome could be either X or Y. Hence, 50% of sperms carry the X chromosome while the other 50% carry the Y. After fusion of the male and female gametes, the zygote would carry either XX or XY depending on whether the sperm carrying X or Y fertilize the ovum. The zygote carrying XX would develop into a female baby and XY would form a male. You will learn more about the chromosomal pattern in chapter 5. That is why scientifically it is correct to say that the sex of baby is determined by the father and not by the mother. The meiotic division starts as the zygote moves through the isthmus of the oviduct called cleavage towards the uterus and form 2, 4, 8, 16 daughter cells called blastomeres. देखिए डायग्राम अच्छे से. The embryo with 8 to 16 blastomeres is called a morula. 8 to 16 blastomeres is called a morula. The morula continues to divide the transforms into blastocysts as it moves further into the uterus. The blastomere in the blastocyst are arranged into an outer layer called trophoblast and an inner group of cells attached to trophoblast called the inner cell mass. The trophoblast layer then gets attached to the endometrium and the inner cell mass gets differentiated as the embryo. After attachment, the uterine cells divide rapidly and covers the blastocyst. As a result, the blastocyst becomes embedded in the endometrium of the uterus. This is called implantation and it leads to pregnancy and embryonic development. After implantation, finger-like projections appear on the trophoblast called chorionic villi, which are surrounded by the uterine tissue and maternal blood. The chorionic villi and uterine tissue become interdigited with each other and jointly form a structural and functional unit between developing embryo, fetus, and maternal body called placenta. The placenta facilitates the supply of oxygen and nutrients to the embryo and also removal of carbon dioxide and excretory waste materials produced by the embryo. The placenta is connected to the embryo through an umbilical cord, which helps in the transport of substance to and from the embryo. Placenta also acts as an endocrine tissue and produces several hormones like human chorionic gonadotropins, HCG, human placental lactogen, HPL, estrogen प्रोजेस्टोजेंस। याद रखना ये हार्मोन प्लासेंटा प्रोड्यूस करती है ड्यूरिंग प्रेगनेंसी। In the later phase of pregnancy, or hormones called relaxin is also secreted by the ovary. During pregnancy, ovary release relaxin hormone. Okay. Let us remember that HCG, HPL, and relaxin are produced in women only during pregnancy. In addition, during pregnancy, the levels of the other hormones like estrogens, progestogens, cortisol, prolactin, thyroxine, etc. are increased several folds in the maternal blood. Increased production of these hormones is essential for supporting the fetal growth, metabolic changes in the mother, and maintenance of the pregnancy. देखिए डायग्राम प्लासेंटा villi, cavity of uterus, yolk sac, embryo, umbilical cord with its special plug of mucus in cervix. Immediately after implantation, the inner cell mass embryo differentiated into an outer layer called ectoderm and inner layer called endoderm. A mesoderm soon appears between the ectoderm and mesoderm. These three layers give rise to all tissues, organs in adults. It needs to be mentioned here that the inner cell contains certain cells called stem cells, which have the potential to tissues and organs. What are the major features of embryonic development at various months of pregnancy? The human pregnancy lasts 9 months. Do you know for how many months pregnancy lasts in dog, elephants, cats? Find out in human beings after 1 month of pregnancy. The embryos are formed. The first sign of the growing fetus can be noticed by listening to the heart sound carefully through the stethoscope. By the end of second month of pregnancy, the fetus develops limbs and digits. By the end of 12 weeks, first trimester, most of the major organ system are formed. For example, the limbs and external genital organs are well developed. The first movement of fetus and appearance of hair on the head are usually observed during the fifth month. By the end of about 24 weeks, end of second trimester, the body is covered with the fine hair, eyelids separate, and eyelashes are formed. By the end of 9 months of pregnancy, the fetus is fully developed and is ready for delivery. Parturition and lactation. The average duration of human pregnancy is about 9 months, which is called a gestation period. Vigorous contraction of the uterus at the end of pregnancy causes expulsion or delivery of the fetus. This process of delivery of fetus childbirth is called parturition. Parturition is induced by a complex neuroendocrine mechanism. The signals for parturition originate from the fully developed fetus and the placenta. This induces mild uterine contraction called fetus ejection reflex. This triggers release of oxytocin from the maternal pituitary. Oxytocin acts on the uterine muscle and causes stronger uterine contraction, which in turn stimulates further secretion of oxytocin. The salutary reflex between the uterine contraction and oxytocin secretion continues, resulting in the stronger and stronger contraction. This led to expulsion of the baby out of the uterus through the birth canal. Parturition. Soon after the infant is delivered, the placenta is also expelled out of the uterus. What do you think the doctor injects to induce delivery? The mammary glands of the female undergo differentiation during pregnancy and starts producing milk towards the end of pregnancy by the process called lactation. This helps the mother in feeding the newborn. The milk produced during the initial few days of lactation is called colostrum, which contains several antibodies, absolutely essential to develop resistance for the newborn baby. Breastfeeding during the initial period of infant growth is recommended by doctors for bringing up a healthy baby.